And we're off. Welcome to the show. As usual, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. We have BALLBUSTERS Live, episode 110. A bit long in the tooth here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mind. Title of the show, The Moon on a Ball. Kind of catchy. Going to be interesting for me. I haven't done a lot of research in this particular area. I've watched plenty of videos on the topic back in the day, but something that really hasn't piqued my interest. Not that it's not important. So I'll be quite interested in the directions that we go today. But before we get there, hopefully the distinguished Nathan Oakley is in the house to MC these ceremonies.
I am. I'm in the process of making coffee. It's about tea time here, putting the kids away time. So I am here.
Well, thank you. The principals today will be the Adam Meakin. He will be starting off our lineup first. Then we're going to have Brian in the cleanup spot. What inning we'll get to, we just don't know. I'm trying to get some baseball analogies in here, and they just weren't coming. Last night, it was so funny. I had to bring this up. It's senior night. My son's a senior, and we had a big football game. And so we were up there. We went out onto the field as parents of some of the seniors. But anyway, we're at the game. And besides the point, our football team here, we got really good football team. They're outstanding this year. But they were going up against one of the other better teams in the area. They still won. It was a really good game, but I digress from that. We're watching the game. Me and my wife are sitting there, and they have this big live screen. You can't see the game because everyone's standing up, so we watch the big live screen. That's irrelevant anyway. And they got one first down and then two first downs. And the second first down, my wife says, "Is that their second touchdown?" And I said, "What in the world are you even doing here?" I said, "No, it's the fourth inning." I have to be a wise ass about it. It just struck me as funny, and then we started getting into this. I thought I'd share that with you. It was hilarious.
I'd have said, no, they're just on the last lap.
Yeah, just exactly. Yes. And this guy had a megaphone behind us, right? And every time the other team would get to third down, they would say, "Third down." And this guy behind us with this megaphone would go, "Come on, defense." And it just got to on the really last nerve, right? But my wife and I are looking at each other saying, "Please, God, don't get the third down." But overall, it was a pretty good time. I enjoyed going out and seeing that sort of stuff. It's been a long time. That's all I got for you today.
Sounds like what I'm watching in the Alabama game.
I don't care about Greenbow, Alabama.
Roll Tide.
All right, what else we got out here? Is Brian in the house? Is he going to show up today for his own presentation? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, hello, I'm here yet. I'm here. You know what they should have in stadiums? They should have an area marked for people who aren't stupid with an arrow towards a section of seats and see who goes there. All the idiots will go there. You just have to go everywhere else.
Thanks, Brian. I'll let them know.
I guarantee it worked because everyone thinks they're smart. So all the idiots think they're smart, so they're going to go there. So then you can just go to any other seat and you'll be fine.
I like the windshield clean. I know some people don't. Drives me absolutely crazy with a dirty windshield or dirty glasses. Get my drift? I guess not. You people out
I'd say
there,
yes.
they just don't have it today out there in Discord just yet. We'll have to get fired up here in a couple minutes.
Well, your fellow Four Eyes over here understands.
Yeah. My wife is the exact opposite. She'll let her glasses go for like a week. And you can see it sometimes when she turns a certain way and the light hits it a certain way. I said, how can you even see out of them? And she's go, oh, stop it. And she does the same thing with the windshield on the car. Right? You know, the needless sacrifice of millions of bugs on the windshield. Right? And what they do is they'll hit the monkey pissers and the windshield wipers. You guys don't know what monkey pissers are, do you? I digress. We might get back to that. Hit the monkey pissers and hit the windshield. And all it does is just spread the stuff all over. It smears it everywhere. Right? And then you go in the car at night, and then you get around a high light, and you can't see jack. You ever do? See, that really irritates me.
But
guys,
you can't see.
I wouldn't be
shit,
able to
though.
drive like that.
But you can't see shit though, right?
Yeah. You guys understand? You guys understand where I'm going with this?
Yes, a lot of protein on the windows when the bugs hit.
Just needless sacrifice of millions, possibly billions of bugs. By high
You just need a knife.
by a high impact collision. A knife ain't gonna do any. What the hell's a knife gonna do?
Scrape it off.
What are you gonna do? Slash your tires so you can't drive?
Slash your thigh.
Scrape.
Dirty glasses.
No, you just use a knife and just scrape it off, and then you clean the rest off.
You don't scrape
it won't
bugs
take
off the windshield with a knife.
If they're all
No,
hardened
you
up,
don't
you
do
damn
that,
well
Owen.
will.
What the
If they're
hell?
all hardened up,
What type of mental block? I don't want to say tardation. Do you got?
You got to get in there and scrub them out, man. You got to put some elbow grease in there.
Jeez.
mine's quicker.
You're just dumber. No one cleans their windshield with a knife. What, like a butter knife?
No. Jesus. It's just if there's a
Get an
really
idea.
big
Let's butter
part,
the bugs.
if they're a really big part all hardened up, crusted up, there's no point in like scrubbing it for 15 minutes where you can just take a knife and just take the majority of it, basically cut it off, and then you scrub the rest
What the hell are you
for
talking about?
2 minutes.
There ain't that big. It's usually just a smear. It's not usually something that's like a volcano on top of the windshield for you to scrape it off. You heard of window cleaner before?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you do is you get some good window cleaner and you spray that on there and you let it sit on the windshield for like 5 minutes. Then they just wipe right off. Why the hell would you scrape them off with a knife? Jeez.
Well, because maybe it didn't work right away.
Why didn't you just use a hockey stick?
That's not sharp enough. You need a sharp edge.
All right, okay. I guess this is. Woo! All righty then. So where are we at? What's the? Give us sort of some highlights. Adam, are you there? How many floggings are you into already?
Oh no, just waiting for the introduction. Good evening.
Good evening. So let's get a little. I don't want to say a summary. I just give us a little flavor of what's about to happen here. How about that?
Yeah, okay. I think in some chats and certainly in some YouTube things and Twitter, particularly, I've seen flat earthers attacking ball earth with discussions about moon phases, where they seem to be citing the ballers incorrectly. But really, the purpose of my thing is just to kind of show what the ballers' claim actually is. Do with that as you wish, you know what I mean? But I think it's important that we understand what their claim fundamentally is, what causes it, and then from there, after maybe making that clear handover to Brian, who's got some real life observations that not making a claim necessarily, but for your ponderance.
Okay, so you're going to differentiate between the actual globe claims, the anti-flat earther claims, which are being parroted incorrectly by flat earthers, more or less.
Anti-flat earthers, actual flat earthers, when they're attacking the globe, attacking incorrectly, claiming it's to do with the Earth rotating, things like that. So, just it'd be a bit boring in terms of just it being a very basic lesson about what the heliocentric model claims, why the moon phases exist. It's fundamental to their horology.
Yeah, I got to admit, like I said in the beginning, I haven't really got into this offshoot topic. I think it's important. I just haven't spent a lot of time in it, so it's going to be educational to me. I might, you never know, if I find something, I might be asking a lot of questions, but I'm not going to be adding anything because, you know, when you don't know too much about a topic, it's best to be quiet.
What's the topic?
The moon on a ball, more or less focusing on what are the exact claims of the heliocentric model, even though there is no model and models don't make claims. But what is the actual claims about the who, what, when, where, how, why of moon phases?
There is a claim. This is the heliocentric claim. Whether it fits in the model, and maybe it does within the model, the way they describe it, this is the reason that the changing phases of the moon occur according to heliocentrism. This is its cause and effect.
Yes.
Can I give a quick summary?
Yes. Yep.
Who's doing the presentation? Is it you, Brian?
Adam is doing the first part, and I'm doing the ending. Adam's part is the main part, and I'm the ending, Nathan.
Well, before you give your preamble, can I ask a quick question? I don't know if refracted curvature is here. Is refracted curvature here?
No.
Will there be any derivations of an axis before you start describing how they describe the moon?
There will be well, yes and no. There will be.
Okay. I don't know if I should start my Lamborghini up yet. Okay, I'll come to that. I'm maybe jumping the gun.
You are, because this is not compare and contrast. It literally is just grasp what they're claiming. Yeah. So there's no need really to stop that. Yeah.
What I'm hinting at, Adam, is are they going to need, and I mean, no doubt whatsoever that they will, are they going to need a flat Earth for this?
Yes.
Thought as much. Okay, that's all I wanted to interject at this early stage.
Yeah, Adam has all that covered. Look, a brief outline of it for the audience. Adam is going to go through the moon phases and what they must claim in heliocentrism concerning the phases of the moon. This is something that Adam went through years ago. Just people didn't pay enough attention to it. So I think it was 2016, Adam, when you first went through it. And then I'm going to show an observation that doesn't fit with what they say. with some details with that observation. There's no one here making claims. We're just saying, this is what ye claim. This observation is outside of that. What's your answer? That's all it is. No, we're not claiming it's this, it's that, or the other thing. But there will be an opportunity for that Lamborghini that Nathan wants to start up. Thank you.
There always is. And Adam, I'm sure you have got it covered. You're good like that.
The Lamborghini will start at the point of Brian's claim. He's the one that's going to make measurements and use those measurements. So you can start the engines up at that point instantly.
Are we going to Highway 90?
Highway 90, I was just trying to explain what that was, Alwyn. Thank you. So just for the audience's benefit, because I don't like in-jokes, when we say start up your engines, very Lamborghini-esque descriptions coming through to you, and you might not understand what they mean. Well, what we're talking about is generally with, let's use a different argument. If we're talking about axial rotation specifically, you can spend an eternity going back and forth between a anti-flat earther / ball believer and you as a flat earther describing their denial of the drift that the globe claims should take place at 15 degrees an hour. You and your reference frames are ruined, and how Earth should be turning underneath. You can go through that for hours and hours and hours. And that is equivalent, metaphorically, to you on the beaten path, fighting your way through the roads, single track lane, with your Yugo, really struggling, to get to the end of the path. The end of the path being you proving a flat Earth, right? That's what we're here for. Okay. Well, while that's all happening, refracted curvature had already built a highway over the top of this horrible dirt track. Arrow straight, 5 lanes, 100-mile-an-hour speed limit, no police. And he's got a Lamborghini driving past, pointing out that in order to claim any of this stuff, you're going to be deriving, in this case, an axis by way of measurements, either derivations from eye level and surface level, or minimum elevation angle measurements to Polaris, to give you an axis of rotation. In other words, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. That's the guy flying over the highway in the Lamborghini straight to the end of this discussion by pointing out that all of these claims will require a flat Earth. Now, credit where it's due, that's mostly refracted curvature, but Arwyn swooped in at the end and gave it the best title ever. Highway 90. Love it.
Yep.
Where's Highway 90? Is it 90 as a 90?
I say Highway 90 because I was thinking about it. I altered it, Arwyn, because Route 90 conjures images of root functions mathematically. So Highway 90 at least makes you know exactly what we're talking about. It's a road, whereas Route 90, but that's the reason it was so catchy, because it's like Route 66, Route 90, But so maybe it will alter. But I said Highway 90. What Arwyn actually said was Route 90.
No, Arwyn had the Route 90. That's got to stay with him.
No, you got Route 66 and you got Highway 90. What more do you need? I like the sound of Highway 90.
Either way, that's the analogy. It's the shortcut to the flat Earth, so you don't have to go around the Reekin talking about how you should or shouldn't have something operating on a presupposed spherical Earth, as we used to phrase it. Well, it's no longer on your presupposed spherical Earth. It's on your Earth that's been or has come to fruition by way of a flat Earth derivation. So you're going to need a flat Earth for that, as opposed to you're going to need to beg the question of a sphere Earth. No, you're going to need to mathematically derive a sphere from a flat plane.
Superchat.
Highway 90.
Superchat.
It's a lumpy gas in a vacuum. Anyone want to hear how I caught a guy involved in CP file sharing? It's kind of a long story. I'm putting in flatzoid's element. Okay.
Thanks for the super chat, Lumpy Cat. Yeah, let's get into a frenzy, because my wife's been a little disappointed the last couple of days, just to let you know, with the super chat.
Can I ask Nathan a question?
I'm thinking no.
I'm thinking no.
All right then.
Can I ask a question before you ask your question, Brian?
That was a question. Both of you just asked questions. Go ahead, Brian.
Go you first, Brian.
No, you go first. It's your show. I don't even know what you're asking.
All right.
I'll go.
You don't have that.
No, I want to go. So just to summarize for everyone, are you saying, Nathan, that everything essentially in cosmology, it's going to be, you're going to need a flat Earth for that, essentially. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So this started off with all roads lead to a flat Earth, right? In other words, a bit like all roads lead to Rome. Well, it's not that all roads lead to Rome, it's that all roads are flat Earth roads. So, yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Absolutely. Where'd you get this stuff from? It never twigged when Brian was saying, well, you've got to back engineer it somehow. You've got to make it work with reality somehow. But it's like, well, what are you doing to make it back engineer into reality? Well, you're measuring a flat Earth to give you the globe, aren't you? That's the most profound part of 2023 so far, if you ask me.
Yes, I agree.
Shouldn't it be all roads begin with a flat
anything
Earth,
that
though?
works
Like
in
chocolate
reality
said?
that they try to claim
Sorry.
works due to a globe means that they have to start with a flat plane. There's no way out of it. Like,
This will be important later
that's
on
just
when I draw the analogy.
so you just can't do it any other way. Everything must start with a flat plane. There's no way other way to do it.
And yes,
Everything
Neil.
they do,
Yes,
there's
Neil.
no way out of it. All roads leads to flat.
Or, as Neil said, all roads start flat or start with a flat Earth. All paths start with a flat Earth. And, you know, this is something that we should labour, I feel, because it's the most important detail, isn't it? You know, this is just one more thing, and then I'll stop waffling. Refractive curvature started this off by saying that in a more complicated way, and it's why Penny didn't drop immediately, we're saying that when you have an argument with an anti-flat earther, what they are actually arguing for is a flat Earth that they will tell you is a ball. And what you are arguing for is a flat Earth that they've presumably given you so that it will fail. In other words, both sides of the argument are actually arguing with a flat Earth. And one is just calling it a ball, the other is calling it flat when it is.
Exactly. And before Flatsy jumps in,
Super.
that's the bit after the video I want to get to. It's a point I didn't really grasp, but I put it in the slides many years ago when we did, I'm not sure when, 2017, I would have thought. But it's a point now that with all of the stuff that we've done, with Tenth and the Sextant, it really helps show that exact point. And we can jump on the highway at any point as they try to take these flat Earth measurements and the flat Earth reality and positioning and try to convert all of these things onto a ball. And you'll see how it's still flat as they do it.
All right, lumpy gas in a vacuum. It says frenzy time.
Wait a
I'll
second. What is it?
Uh.
Is it the super chat?
No, you forgot to say
yeah,
it.
super chat. I said it, but you know, I'll let Adam finish his point. So, lumpy gas in a vacuum. Frenzy time. I'll match up to $10 in super chat. Neil, come check out the story. You'll like it.
If he writes super chat in there, you, Flatsy, or you're not committed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's frenzy time. I'll
Frenzy
match up.
time.
Wait a second. I'm going to say it. I'm going to show you how to do it correctly. Okay? Frenzy time. I'll match up to $10 in super chat. Neil, come check out this story and you'll like it. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah,
What's he saying? What does that mean? I'll match $10.
Give her a break.
What does that mean? I'll match $10. What does that mean?
I don't know.
He matched his $5 and it made 10. So there you go.
I gotcha. Thank you, Lumpy.
She didn't need no correcting there, did she?
But she did on the other one. It's not correction, Neil. It's encouragement. Flatsy's got her own little catchphrase, mate, and we all copy it. When she says super chat, but she doesn't say super chat. She says super chat. It's a bit weird because that's a phrase, not mine. Super chat.
No,
Does
I'm
it-
not talking about that. I'm talking about the way QE came and corrected her. They're not easy reading super chats.
The correction was over the enunciation of the super chat.
No, it was not. Listen back.
Anyway,
Yes,
I
it
missed
was.
that. I thought
So yeah, so there's this highway that goes over the top of all of these windy roads. It takes you straight to a flat Earth by pointing out how you will be deriving your globe claim from a flat plane measurement in the first instance. All roads start with a flat Earth, all roads end in a flat Earth. You're going to need a flat Earth for that.
That's
Thank
not
you.
going to be Highway 90.
That was basically Nathan saying, "Shut up, Neil."
Yeah, and keep going. All right. I think we stressed the super chat. I like how Adam says it too. It puts an English twist on it. Say it
I
again.
loved it.
Say it again, Adam.
I muted myself when I said super chat.
Yeah, that does sound good.
Yeah.
Pronounce Mario, the video game. Do you say Mario or Mario?
Mario.
With a
Hey.
hard A, right? Matt.
Oh God. Hey.
Or no, that's a short A.
Yes, Neil. Any other words you'd like to learn how to say?
Well,
Yeah,
because my wife just asked me, a couple of racist people just corrected her how she said Mario in the store.
Asked.
Oh, bro.
Only the Italian Mario says Mario. The Brooklyn Mario says Mario. Just so it depends on who you think, where you think he originated from. You know.
I just remember that
From
gag from
Japan.
Friends where
Oh, wait.
Joey goes and does a photo shoot, and then the photo shoot turns out all over New York, and it's Joey. It says Mario is hiding something. He's got a really cute smile, and it says, "Go and get your VD check." No, clearly not. No fun.
I remember that.
Remember, kids, if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die.
I just want to state that.
Save us, Flatsy, please.
Flatsy.
Hang on.
Sorry, my screen went dark. Super chat. Iron FE. He sent $20. Thank you.
You don't need to announce the amount. All right, just who's announcing, just who it's by. Thanks a lot, Iron FE. Thanks for starting the frenzy or continuing the frenzy. Sorry about that. I just like hearing super chat. I see Adam as what the heck's her name? Mary Catholic. What's her name? Anyone?
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins? What the hell are you talking about?
What?
Mary,
I thought you were
quite
talking about the
contrary.
accent. Well, who the hell is Mary Catholic?
Mary,
Super chat.
it's the
Say it loud, say it proud, Flatsy, and shut them all
Super
up.
chat. Super chat. You got 2 super chats.
Go ahead, Flatsy, and then I'll educate Neil. Go ahead.
Lumpy gas in a vacuum said thanks. And into the break said, so what are you saying? Is Earth is so flat you have to measure it like that? Super chat. Thanks into the break.
You're starting to get people doing it. All right, Neil. The super chat. What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like maybe something from Saturday Night Live where she says superstar, right? That's where Flatsy got this from. Do you follow? And
Oh, I got it now. The one from Saturday Night Live. I'm a star.
no, superstar. Right? Where she puts her fingers underneath her armpits. What's her name?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I forgot her name.
Her name
It's
is
Mary, quite contrary.
No, it's not. What the heck is her name in her character?
Marie Antoinette?
No.
Magdalene?
Can somebody tell it? Isn't it Mary? I don't friggin' know. Flatsy.
I looked this up the other day, right? It turns out that listening to 5 or 6 people trying to remember a name from a Saturday Night Live sketch is the most entertaining thing you can ever watch on YouTube. I read that recently, you know.
Saturday Night Live.
No, it's not. Off you go, Flatsy.
Mary.
It's Mary Catherine,
Super
by
chat.
the way.
It's did I hear super chat?
Super chat.
Go ahead.
Tony Whitcomb. Top that, Mitches. Thank you for bitches. It still sounds like the bad word, but
What did he?
I
What did he? Hold on, I gotta go check it. I gotta see what he said. I didn't hear you all that well. 1 second. Where am I? I got the name, by the way. Her name is Mary Catherine Gallagher. That's what I was going.
Her name is Matthew Karen
That's
Gallagher.
right.
Oh, I love that. I like that color, man. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that, man. My wife is gonna be severe. Honey, you guys made up for the past couple days. Appreciate that. All right, now we already got the super chat squared away. All right, we already got that squared. We don't need to go down that road any longer. So now we're gonna head into the presentation, and it's gonna be in 2 parts. The first part is gonna be Adam, and then Brian is gonna finish it up. And this might be very interesting. So I'm gonna keep a weathered eye on this. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the ins and outs and what have yous of this subject. I seen a lot of it with the what was it called back in the day? The Sun and Moon Group. Is that correct, Adam?
Yeah, I suppose. Yes. Bloody hell, that's a blast from the past, isn't it? Shout out to Karen.
Bloody hell. Yes, that is a blast from the past. She
Yeah.
did an interview that I turned down. What was her name? I did a...
Karen.
Were you there when we went to the Space Centre, Adam?
I watched the Space Centre. I'd gone a few years before with my kids. Bought some Lego.
fair enough. But
Karen.
yeah,
I remember a Karen.
Mary Catherine Gallagher.
Yeah, we
Is that
covered
her?
that, Arwin. Bloody
Oh.
hell.
That woman's name. She's done with. On to the next woman.
Oh, what the hell?
Matt
Okay.
Karen.
Arwin.
The Sun and Moon Group. Do you remember the Sun and Moon Group, Arwin? You do remember the Sun and Moon
Oh
Group.
yeah, Karen.
Yes. Well, Mark Sargent got in touch because I can't remember what media outlet it was, but someone reasonably well known, hence I can't even remember. And they wanted to do an interview. And like all of these that come to me and like, I want to do an interview with you, you vet them or you talk to them, or if you struggle to talk to them, it's normally a red flag. But anyway, in this instance, it was one of those. I was like, I'm going to pass. And she did it. And they absolutely ridiculed her. Like, tore her a new one. But yeah, there was a lot of that about at the time. Sorry, that was just my memory of Karen. Nice lady. Went to the Space Centre with her. There's videos on us going and looking at the held together with zip ties and dreams rockets that they had in the exhibition. What do they call those ratchet straps all holding it together? Nuts. Anyway.
Yeah, I hung around in her group for a bit, but she was like, no, you must be friends. You must be friends. Like, she couldn't tolerate any argumentation at all, so that didn't last very long.
She hung around with this dude called Eternal Padawan, who's a really nice fellow. I met up with him several times at various different meets. And for some unknown reason, he just turned against me and everyone I knew at one point. And Karen seemed to follow him. Anyway, we're getting into the weeds here. Adam, we've had the same preamble twice from QE in terms of him not being necessarily 100% behind this because he doesn't know what's going on. So two preambles and a load of waffle. Lots of super chats, though, which is always good. Thank you very much, everyone, smashing the super chat. Can we get into it, though? Because I'm really keen to hear it.
It's not super chat. It's super chats.
Super chat.
On that point, Fatsy, at any point now, super chat comes in, feel free to say super chat.
Yeah.
I have something to say to Nate.
I posted a picture of Mary Catherine Gallagher just in case I just wanted to put some context with it, guys, so you know where we got it from. Now, we can move on. Brian, would you like to add something before Adam kicks it off?
There's a Highway 90 in every state, and they all meet up at Route 180.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the same ring in an Irish accent. Can you try it in Dutch?
Can you try it in Dutch? All right, Adam, you ready? Now, I'd like to correct the MC here. It's not that how did you phrase it? That I was sort of questioning it or looking down? No, I think this has some real merit. It's just that I haven't delved into this side of or research into this topic all that much. So I'm not questioning its veracity because these two guys right here, I mean, they're nobody to mess with, especially with all the years behind them and stuff. I think this has some cowbell. I just want to see where it goes.
Okay.
Well,
Can we pretend I blow some smoke up Adam and Brian's ass for 2 or 3 minutes and just go straight to it?
Yes.
Let's just get on with it. Bloody hell.
All right, Adam. Just say next, and you're up.
Yeah. I left the first slide up because, like I said, this is really old. So this is something me and John Savage put together. We talked about the impossible heliocentric moon phases. And it is questioning them based on the claims that are said. Now, let's go to the next slide, if you would, Huey. So, the point of the presentation back then was hoping we'd prove something, and it's very tricky, and mapping and flipping 2D Earth measurements onto a ball and manipulating them, taking them to hell, is how the apologetics work, even when you put things into AutoCAD or Stellarium, etc., etc. And that's the interesting point I'd like people to ponder at the end of all this, how it's mapped and what they have to do. The initial question was, how do we see a nearly full moon during the day or a crescent moon during the night? Things we've all seen. But fundamentally to the heliocentric model, it should be a very big rarity. I don't think it is. Next slide, please, QE. So I'm just going to briefly describe their claims. So the Earth takes 1 day to make a complete rotation upon its axis. During this time, different parts of the Earth have day and night. Now, this is important. This is the first part that has nothing to do with moon phases. Okay, this is just where we will see the sun and moon in the sky. Okay, as you can probably, just keeping it simple with the sun, midday it's going to be bang overhead. If you look at that picture, you can see it's midday somewhere just west of the Caribbean. Okay, so that's the point in their model of Earth's supposed rotation. That's what it mediates. It doesn't mediate moon phases. All it will mediate is where the sun and moon can possibly be in the sky. That's important for Brian's point later. Next slide, please. So what do moon phases depend on? Moon phases depends on its relative position, moon's relative position, the sun as seen from the Earth. And we can see them simply there. But it's all about that. Okay, the whole reason, cause of the phases of the moon in the heliocentric model, the relative positions between the sun and the moon as seen from the Earth, with the moon orbiting the Earth and the Earth orbiting the sun. The next slide, please. So in order for the moon to appear as a crescent, based on the angle of the sun's reflection, it would have to be located somewhere along the red lines. And that's the point. I've stated their positionings. Their relative positionings will dictate what sunlight can be reflected from the moon. Another important heliocentric claim, that the reason for the moon's illumination is nothing to do with itself being a luminary body, but that all of its light is a reflection of the sun's. Next slide, please. Great. So a half moon would have to be located in one of these two positions. Now, obviously not this close, not to scale, but it's showing the relative positions. We've got midday, look, where is it? Somewhere in South America, look. At this point, the moon is located 90 degrees to it to give you the half moon. Only half of it is illuminated. You can only see that half illuminated side. The other side relative to the sun it isn't. That would be a half moon. Next slide. And it's the same with the gibbous moon, where we're going to see virtually a full moon all the way down to a half moon. The gibbous moon would only appear to us if located along red lines in terms of their relative positions. Final slide before the video, if you would, QE. So this is the kind of, it described simply. This is where we see the new moon, day 1. We don't see the moon. And this is an interesting point of itself. Obviously, the moon's there, but apparently because no light's being reflected from it, we don't see it. We don't see any shadow of it. Shout out Anthony Riley. But then we can see where the relative positions should be. So we've got a waxing crescent and a waning crescent. They're relative positions where we're only going to see a small amount of reflected sunlight, virtually with the half moons and then fully round into the gibbuses, before we see the full face of the moon illuminated with the supposed positions of sun, earth and moon in that alignment. So all of the moon's light is shown back to the earth, known as a full moon. If you've got the video, QA, I've got a little heliocentric video lined up. It's only 2 minutes long. It's from you'll like the title, the Science Teaching Association. But the reason I'm just playing this is really just to, demonstrate that this is their claim, and that's what I'm putting to you today. This is the heliocentric claim. So I'll mute up Q and let you press play.
We know that the moon orbits the Earth. So in this model, I'm going to get the moon, the foam ball, to orbit the Earth, my head. Notice that no matter where the moon is in its orbit, half of it is always lit up by the sun. But when the moon is in this position, I can't see any of the lighted side of the moon from Earth, my head. From this angle, you can see what I am seeing from Earth. We call this new moon. When it's new moon, we look up at the sky and we can't see the moon. It's there, but the side that's reflecting sunlight is away from us. Now, as I slowly make the moon orbit to my left, I can begin to see a tiny sliver of that lighted side. We call that a crescent moon. As the moon keeps orbiting, we can see more and more of that lighted side. We see half of the lighted half, which is a quarter moon.
Did somebody want me to stop it right there?
No, but it's a good job they did.
The video is not showing.
Oh, it's not showing.
Sorry about that. I failed. We're going to try it again. Sorry about that, guys.
Try it again.
Failed to put.
When you do, just periodically pause and say, that's interesting.
Yes.
And then start playing again.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, folks. We'll start it over.
Once everything's perfectly
done with the ad, we'll get on with it. Again, my apologies. Here we go.
We know that the moon orbits the Earth.
Video is still not playing.
Yeah, it is.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
It's playing for me.
Win, you've ruined this video.
What? Why am I not seeing it?
I'm not seeing it either. No, it's come up now. It must be the lag.
I see it
this
now.
end, Darwin. Yeah.
All right,
I can see it now. I think it's all okay.
Everybody relax, calm down.
We got it now. So here we go.
I need to panic.
So in this model, I'm going to get the moon, the foam ball, to orbit the Earth, my head. Notice that no matter where the moon is in its orbit, half of it is always lit up by the sun.
That's very interesting.
But when the moon is in this position, I can't see any of the lighted side of the moon from Earth, my head. From this angle, you can see what I am seeing from Earth. We call this new moon. When it's new moon, we look up at the sky.
That's very interesting. No. We can see it. In this demonstration, I can see that ball.
On, mate. Yeah, that was the point I finished on.
Yeah.
And that's what I said, shout out Anthony Riley. It was one of the points of the phases of the moon, the new moon phase, which is weird because the moon does appear to disappear. I think that sounds actually correct. It does disappear. There isn't this no illumination part where the moon, but the moon's still there. It's gone. It comes back, as we observed, just into the first crescents. There is a point where it's just not visible. As you can see in the demonstration, that's not the case.
Yeah, and they've been unable to, in any way, prove that it is there. Unable. Just letting you know. Thank you.
Can't see the moon. It's there, but the side that's reflecting sunlight is away from us. Now, as I slowly make the moon orbit to my left, I can begin to see a tiny sliver of that lighted side. We call that a crescent moon. As the moon keeps orbiting, we can see more and more of that lighted side. We see half of the lighted half, which is a quarter moon.
Just why you've paused there. The demonstration is interesting because they're going to claim this on a ball, but it's one of QE's old things in terms of moon itself is it doesn't behave like a ball in terms of reflection. Now, there was an earlier claim right at the beginning where she said all the time only half of it's illuminated. It's not actually true because look at the nature of light as well. That other bit is illuminated as well. That just passed. It's not a straight terminator line. There's levels of shading. That's how balls work. Unfortunately for her. But like I say, note the point she's making in terms of their claim. It's only ever half illuminated, and at this point now, we're virtually getting to a full quarter, aren't we? Where that's all we can see is 50% illumination. I'm sure the moon's exactly that, but carry on, QA.
Yeah, good point about the shadow gradient, by the way. That on an actual ball, yeah, you get to see shadow gradient, scattering, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
In this case, a first quarter moon. As we keep orbiting, we see almost the whole lighted side. We call that a gibbous moon. Then, when we can see the entire lighted half of the moon, that's a full moon. As the moon continues in its orbit, we begin to see less and less of that lighted side. We're back to a gibbous moon, but this time the light is on the opposite side.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? We're nearly all the way around, and that's literally the end, but I think that'll be fine just to carry on playing now.
Then another quarter moon, last quarter moon to be exact. Another crescent. And finally back to new moon. And the cycle begins again.
Perfect, thanks, Kerry. Go to slide 9. Oh,
We didn't get any interjections in between from you, Q. I don't know if you thought you were making a humorous aside when you were pausing, but you were on mute, just so you know.
Yeah, I was. Sorry about that.
I'm just wondering what this moon is that she's talking about.
Moon? It is a French moon, isn't it?
A moon?
It's like
The
an lower
moon,
moon.
you say?
Let's not do this. Let's let Adam make his summary. Thank you.
Okay. So the purpose of that was just it's quite a cute demonstration for you to see what they're claiming, what's its causation, just show what I've just previously described is exactly what the heliocentrists ascribe to. Next slide, QA. In the video, she said it. Her head was the Earth. Slightly different thing, and this is what I want to just finish on. If we're going to take this point, there's a very big difference between your head being the Earth and the way your view of the room around her, in her case, or your view of the heavens would play out different if you were the whole Earth or if you were visible horizon. This is where we stand and observe these things. And this is kind of where I want to finish and on. So if just to the next slide, Q8. So all of the things we observe are on a visible horizon, and there are points, because we're claiming we're on a ball, that the ball will occlude our vision. A lot of ballnomics that they ascribe to. Next slide, please, QA. Scale and distance really make no real difference to this if the point of obstruction is the point right below your feet, if you'll be able to see it. Next slide. Okay. What I'd said I'd put on here but in the past was I'd marked on celestial horizon, because this is where all of these measurements are taken from when they're then considered as whether they're applicable to the Bohr model. They're taken to hell. They no longer become applicable to the claim you're making, which is this is your viewpoint from this port of a ball. Everything you've done is taken to that celestial horizon and ascribed from there, which, like I say, when you go to some of the 3D modeling, it gives them the kind of leeway that's required to say, yes, you can do it on a ball, just if you do this. Next slide, please. Which is, again, a repetition, just to say, but scale and size does not affect position in the visible horizon. That's reality, okay? Can be benefited by the celestial horizon. Final slide, and I'll take it back with just a summary with the information I've presented to just ask you a question. So how can we ever see a gibbous moon during the day or a crescent moon during the night? I'll finish there and hand over probably to you before we jump straight into Brian QE. But,
this is where I blow a bit of smoke up your ass in between, though, and yeah, it won't take long, Brian. But yeah, great stuff, Adam. Thank you.
This is. I'm going to leave this up for a couple minutes. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say that Adam was pointing at the celestial horizon years ago, and it's just no one really caught on to it at the time.
Yeah, you mean before 10th Man? Yeah. Hey, thank you. I hope the panel, if there's anybody here on the panel, if you got any questions, anything with regards to that, but I hope that makes sense. You've got to understand their claim to be able to laugh at it properly. Whilst it's hard to generate direct proofs from our observations, it hopefully does raise lots of questions. Because I think we've all seen gibbous moons in the day, something that, like I say, shouldn't be possible, with that clear blue sky behind it, that big semi-full moon. And it's iconic, that crescent moon. But look at the positions. If you want to go back to, say, slide 9, I think it was, QA, just look at those positions that are slide 8, sorry. Look at the positions that are required to attain the relative positions. And then, like I said in the final bit, look at where you're supposedly stood, your visible horizon. And I ask you, how possible are they? seem exceptionally more than reasonably possible in reality. They happen all the time. I've always observed them. They really should be obscure things, and in some cases impossibilities.
What is the elephant in the room here? What'd you say?
We're dealing in heliocentrics. All of this is requesting people to think in a ball-headed manner, which I apologise for.
The elephant in the room would be the requirement of a flat Earth to derive the axes to give you these orbits.
Yeah, because every position that you've looked at that moon and taken the angle for that you're then going to ascribe an orbit to is a position taken from a flat Earth measurement.
Which one of these stand out as being completely ridiculous? Let me rephrase.
I know the one I'm picking, which is
New moon.
full moon.
Full moon during the day. That's the one that jumps out to me. The other ones, I'm a little bit, because I'm having problems with the scale and everything, even though Adam said scale has nothing to do with it. But the one that jumps out to me is full moon during the day. That's just for me.
It jumps out because of the explanation. In other words, yes, absolutely, because of what Adam's just detailed. The full moon in this diagram on screen now, if it's still up for the YouTube audience, makes no sense. However, as I pointed out during the video, in this one, can you just draw a little circle around the new moon in this diagram for me, please, Huey?
Okay, I think I can somehow do it. Yeah, okay.
I don't think that's it.
Where's the ring of fire?
True.
Well, the new moon is a slightly separate argument that we could come at from a different direction. But as far as the phases go, because the new moon, when we're addressing the new moon, we're kind of begging the question that there is something there. Because they always claim that their new moon is only, they claim the new moon is only there in the daytime and we can't see it because it's daytime. That's what they claim. So it's like, it is there, but no one can see it. It's like the geometric horizon.
Right. So there you go,
For our
Brian.
globe.
So, and there's the point. You see, they're apologetics. You only get the moon, the new moon, in that position. And that's why you can't see it, because it's only ever in that position. Never, like with the waning gibbous, the full moon, waxing gibbous, where you see them in the daytime, which is the juxtaposition of what they're claiming. We do see them on that side, yeah? But they're claiming that fundamentally, part of their claim, the reason you never see the new moon is it's only ever in that position relative, yeah? Yeah, what you're going to show is that a waning gibbous, a virtual full moon, has been shown on the other side of that diagram.
Well,
yeah,
the thing about it is, sorry, Adam.
Yeah, no, but that's the point of it. When they make that claim, that holds them to the relative positions argument, which is what you're going to disprove, I think.
Well, the thing about it is that, sorry, I thought you were finished again. Sorry. The thing about it is the new moon in their paradigm and the full moon are directly connected. Because if we can see a full moon, which is what I have to show with proof that it is a full, not even partially full, fully full moon, if we can see that in the daytime, that goes completely against what they claim to be how the moon phases work, especially in their own paradigm. But that would also mean that if we're able to see, if they want to try at any point and claim that we can see a full moon at those times, then then the new moon that they're claiming should be seen at times outside of what they're saying as well. You know what I mean? They need to keep their new moon in a position where it can never be seen, but yet they can claim it's there. It's like the geometric horizon. It's there, but you can't see it. It's that ridiculous it's the same level of ridiculousness. But the full moon, because the moon doesn't do what they need it to do, they need to start making claims, because I've looked into this, that it might be possible sometimes, this kind of thing, about a full moon in the daytime. It's like, no. That is not your model. That is not your claim. When the lady in the video there, Adam, that QE was playing from Adam, when she did her full moon portion, she had to keep the object she was using as the moon above her head so the light from that was behind her could reach it. Because if she put it down in front of her face, it would block the light to it. You know, so this all comes back. A lot of it comes back to their nonsense concerning Eratosthenes. But the point is that their full moon is supposed to be in a direct alignment with the sun, with their globe Earth in between those two things. This is what they claim.
They have a 5-degree, don't they, plane of their ecliptic that it wobbles and transitions between, which is equivalent to the sun's transition. But they have that as a. So when QE is talking about, oh, it's a bit hard to imagine in scale. That's why you wouldn't necessarily get the blocking of that lady's head, because you've got that 5 degrees. So it could be 5 degrees above. You're still getting the same moon phase visible from your head, if you see what I mean. It's
still nighttime in her head, if you understand.
That alignment, when there is that head blocking, put simply, yeah, that's what partly the claims of eclipses are. Yeah, that's the point where an eclipse comes in.
Well, I think this might be why Anthony once said there should be a lunar eclipse once a month. And people were correcting him on
the reason for this presentation. So we understand what the moon phases are and what their causes are in their model, so we don't make false claims against them.
Yeah.
So a head causes an eclipse?
No. But the point is that when she was showing that full moon position, and she was using her own head as the globe Earth, that still had to be nighttime in the globe, because her eyes were 180 degrees away from the light source behind her. So that's still, if she's an observer on a globe Earth, it's exactly nighttime. It's exactly midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, when she's seeing this full moon. So it's not daytime. There is no daylight. There is no sunlight. That's what she's showing, and even though Adam put this diagram together, anyone can look online at any of the official diagrams from Time and Date or Space.com, from NASA, anyone, and they're all exactly the same as what Adam shows here. They all show the full moon only being shown in the nighttime on a globe, within a globe paradigm.
If you look at the diagram and you want to kind of spin time, as it were, pick the phase. So we're going to pick the full moon. So that's the relative positions of the sun, earth and moon to generate a full moon. Now if you want to pick the time, directly under the full moon GP is midnight. Directly under the sun's GP is midday. That terminator line is 6 o'clock in the evening, isn't it? The way the diagram's set up. So that's why you've got to think, right, well, what can I see? What part of the sky is available to me for me to see this full moon? And you can see you're looking at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening. The only points that you might make slight permission to be able to see. And remember the point I said earlier in terms of your visible horizon. Nobody sees down to 0 degrees. And the way they'll position it in their model on the celestial horizon. They're important when you're trying to visualize that. But if you want to turn time, you've got to get onto that ball and spin that ball if you just consider in one moon phase. So just position yourself based on the daylight and the breaking of twilight to consider where you are. With that time, would it be possible to see it? And one other thing, the relative positions of the two luminaries is worth considering as well whenever you think about these things. If you're going to spot these things in the sky and look at them and say, oh, that's impossible, well, what are the relative positions of those two luminaries? That's important as well, particularly if it's being the moon's being illuminated by the sun.
if they want to claim that a full moon at any point can be seen during the daytime, then that means that their new moon must be observable, blocking stars in the nighttime, because you can't have it, or you can't have it halfway. Do you know what I mean? If they want to make any claims about a full moon in the daytime, then their new moon has to be blocking stars during the night. We have to also be able to observe that. They can't have a new moon always only in that one position of being unobservable, but yet change the story when it comes to the full moon. You can't do that because there's a particular cycle that's shown here on screen and that they have to claim. So you can't claim full moon in the daytime without showing a new moon within their paradigm blocking stars in the nighttime. But that's never observed, ever in history, ever, and nor will it ever be.
All right, everyone's got this. I think it's burned into everyone's retina. This was very well done, Adam. I don't say I grasped the whole thing. Like I said, I'm having a little problem with the scale part of it, and I don't think I'm the only one. I just wanted to focus on the one that stood out, right? To somebody relatively new to the topic, this guy over here even though the new moon does stand out, but this guy really stands out to me in its relative position. This is bollocks. Just put it to that way. Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to get ready for Brian's half.
When you say bollocks, forget the scale. Do you mean because you've seen full moons in daylight, early mornings,
Yes.
etc., etc.?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I have.
I can move. Yeah, I can move the moon a little bit above, so it's not shadowed by the Earth. It doesn't matter in the 3D thing. So if that part is blocking people's brain, you can move it. Like I said, that's its 5 degrees.
Right.
Move it out of the shadow of the Earth, so it's still illuminated and reflecting light off of a ball back to you on the other side. The point is, it's the positions or the times of day on the ball Earth that you would be able to observe that if it is a full moon, and the cause of the full moon is it's literally on a straight line, sun, Earth, moon, in terms of their positioning, directly in line. Yeah, brilliant. And that's really the points I want people to grasp. Is that and grasp that, then that's a weakness in their claim. And Brian will show it.
All right, give me a minute. Talk amongst yourselves. Smoke them if you have.
When I do that and absolutely nobody takes up the opportunity to fill the dead air so I can press a few buttons, get a few things working, that's when I really feel like my panel are behind me.
I was about to say that. Come on, Nathan. This is what you moan about. This must be your moment.
And this is what I'm here for as the co-host. I don't have a co-host. I don't have this luxury.
You've got 10th. Co-host, production writer.
Production writer's Brian. Comes up with everything a couple of weeks before anybody would ever come up with it.
Post-production. Payment.
Post-production's Arwin, where he takes credit for all the work everyone's done.
What are you talking about?
I'm just making it up, Arwin. I'm just filling dead air.
It's okay.
All right, can we get on with it?
Well, that's down to QE. So
did you get that, Neil? If you want to get on with it, before we do get on with it, did that make sense to you? Because you was on about, you sit your lads down. That's the question. Oh, they sat there. Did you make them watch this?
Okay, do you want to know what was going on for the first 20 minutes of that? My son must be in some serious pain because he just kept going on and on about how we don't see Optimus Democratus, whatever the hell that thing is, and how there's 2 points in the sky, and quantum race don't know what he's talking about with the double slit. I had to hear all of that in that first 20 minutes. So I had to get in my car and leave my own house.
Neil, let's just deal with that. While you can have some homework to do with your son while we're figuring out whatever we're figuring out. Anyway, ask him to explain how the 2 points, don't interrupt him and shut him down, but just get him to formulate the logical consistency. He says 2 points of light in the sky, Sigma Octantis and Polaris in this example. Get him to explain to you how that proves a ball, and just either write it down or get it dedicated to memory so you've got the form, how he says that proves you're on a ball. I'm not going to take it apart now, but hopefully he'll be able to give you that in the best way possible. He can give it to you, and either, like I say, scribble it down or remember it so you can paraphrase it back accurately, and then we'll take it apart. Okay?
10-4.
All right, Brian, you ready? Do you want to play your little video first? Yoo-hoo, Brian.
Brian.
I want to go on to the shops right now.
It reminded me of the Yoo-hoo commercial. Yoo-hoo.
I like how he called it his little video.
Sorry about that. I took the opportunity to use the toilet. And
Thank-
Neil was giving out.
Too much
And
information.
I thought that's going to go on an extra 6 minutes. And then suddenly he just stopped. And you called, "Hey, Brian, are you there?" I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not." Okay, 1 second now. What I'm going to do is just very quickly give a quick synopsis of what the video is before I ask you to play it.
Sure.
And I'll speak through the video. Okay, so what this video is I walked out of my back garden back on the morning of the 1st of September 2023 this year. And I just looked up in the sky, and it was 6:46 in the morning, right? So just almost 7:15. And I saw the full moon, and I knew it was the full moon because I knew that full moon, only that particular one, didn't happen for 12 years. It was called a super blue moon or something like that. And I knew that in August, there was 2 full moons. There was one on the 1st of August and one on the 31st of August. And what I was seeing on the 1st of September was the full moon that rose for me on the evening before. So it was still in the sky. It was still that same full moon. It wasn't the next day or a day close to it. It was the exact full moon. The one that they say I wasn't seeing this particular type of full moon for 12 years. So I got my phone. I couldn't get my camera for 2 reasons. My camera was out of power. I knew it was, and even if I did get it, the clouds were moving in fast over to block the moon. So I had to just use my phone. So my garden, the front of our house points directly north, and the back of our house points directly south, obviously then. So what I'm looking at here is out to the west. So that full moon would have come from my east, right, going straight over our back garden, well, not directly over, but close to over our back garden, and straight off to the west. So if you want to play it now, QE, and I'll give it an explanation as it's playing. Okay, so that's the full moon we're looking at there. I'm moving across the sky. There's birds there in the sky, a flock of birds. So you can see it's daylight. I'm looking out over the other side, and that's the sun. And we come back and I zoom up to the moon. And you can stop it there. Okay. So what that was is I was shown that the sun, it was fully daylight with the birds out. There was flocks of birds out. There was activity going on. People going off to do things, go to work and whatever else. And off out to the east was the sun. Now I couldn't see the sun because there was houses in the way. But what I did was I went on time and date. If you want to go to my first slide, QE, please.
You're gonna have to wait for one moment because I got to switch up the presentation in Discord.
Yeah.
So keep that thought.
No rush.
Why you do that, Kit? I just note that's a full moon, Brian. That is a really full moon, and we can already see blue sky. Now I know there is no Terminator line in reality, but there is a blue sky there, and if you refer back to my diagrams, that's really interesting. A full moon with a blue sky behind it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing. And actually, my phone didn't do it justice. It was actually much brighter than that. It just happens. It's just an iPhone 7. Phone cameras, especially iPhone 7 era, they're not going to be excellent. So it's very hard to capture reality with something like that.
It wasn't a bad pick. It wasn't a bad view on it, Brian. It was really good.
I was going to say, I don't know why you're making apologetics for the quality of the image. I know that's the moon. You can tell it's the moon. You can see the sun's coming up. You've spun around. It's a video, which is even better. To me, I struggle to catch the moon at all with my iPhone. So the fact that you can even make out what it is pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. So don't make any more apologetics. Plus, in terms of what they say it should be and when it should be, there it is. Q's got it up on screen, hopefully for the YouTube audience, unless that's you, Brian. But in either event, there's no apologies needed for your footage. It's perfectly adequate.
Yep.
Here's your
Sorry, go on.
So what Brian's got on screen now, Nathan. This is your Lamborghini Highway 90 moments here from Date or wherever it is.
I can see lots of angle measurements on there. Maybe explain that just so it's not over the head of the audience, Adam or Brian or whoever.
I will. Yeah, that's going to be part of it. Without even having to address it, like it's all so obviously part of it. But the end of it will show. The only reason I hark on the footage is because in reality it was so brighter. It was like as much morning as it could be morning. It can't be any more morning and daylight than it was. It's just the phone didn't pick it up, and I was going mad. I didn't have my camera, and I didn't have it powered. And even if I did, if I ran to get it and came back, the clouds would have already gone across. Because within a minute, the clouds were already blocking at least half of the moon. So that's the only reason I'm kind of critiquing it. But it doesn't matter. The footage is there. It is what it is, and that's on. I didn't do anything with that. I didn't add filters to it. Didn't do anything. It is what it is. That's the raw footage, and I have the video there if anyone ever wants it. So this first slide, this is from Time and Date. It's just a screenshot, and the whole point of this to show is that the month is August, the year 2023, and it's for Waterford, Ireland, not Waterford, Washington. Waterford, August 2023. As you can see on the first there, it says it shows you have the little moon. It shows the moon phases, and on the first there, it shows the total full moon. So if you want to go to the next slide, please, QE. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next slide then, I'm going down to the 31st of August, which is the last day of that month. And what we're seeing is, again, the symbol over near where it says 31, the symbol is of full moon. So that full moon, the one that's in the video, that supposedly wasn't seen for 12 years, that particular type of full moon. Now, the next thing I want to point to is if you look over to the right-hand side, there above where it says 2057, which is a time, up to the right of that, it says 99.9%. That's giving an illumination. Now, that's only ball nonsense where they're giving a 99.9% illumination. It's like, that's a full moon. It's 100%. It is what it is, a full moon. That's within their paradigm where they go on.
Yeah, maybe just to elaborate on that point, that illumination point is calculated via the angle created between the sun, the earth, and the moon. So when it's literally 180 straight line between the two, zero angle, you've got a full moon. You vary from that by 1 degree, and then that's when you get into your 99% moon. So with 99, 98% moon, you can see how, whether that be waning or waxing gibbous, you can see how close it is over those 3 or 4 days, being virtually the same as what we're discussing a full moon. So there's no getting out and saying, oh, it's 99, 98, 97%. The alignment positioning is, that's why it's 97. It's virtually there. It's virtually in direct alignment.
They did the same with the new moon. They worked that the other way. So we had an argument on one of the debates where the guy was explaining that you see something like 0.2% of it. And you're like, okay, show it me. It's like, well, you can't see 0.2%.
I remember.
Like, okay, well, then we don't see 0.2% then, do we?
What, of that glowing reflection? And you
Yeah.
and that's the point, isn't it? You should. But there's this point in, like I said, there that 3 or 4 days on full moon where really it's 97 to, and then to 100 and then back to 97 the other side. You should see that over those 3 days of new moon, but you don't. There's nothing. There's no little whisper along the edges.
Well, the reason I was pointing at the 99.9% illumination, right, is I don't think they ever give 100% for whatever reason. But the reason I was pointing at that is because if you look at the slider on time and date, where I have a little mouse pointer thing over where the moon is at moon rise, the full moon rose at 8:52 in the evening for me there. So it's at 8:57 there, it's at 0 degrees altitude. So it's just rising according to time and date. Now, if you move that slider, that 99.9% doesn't change. That was my point. Now, because I'm sending slides, I couldn't send it. I'd have to show it on time of date itself. But anyone can check it. That doesn't change when you move that slider. That doesn't change the percentage, let's just say. And I have a reason for showing that. So if you just go to the next slide, please, QE, which would be slide 3. Thank you.
Say that again, Brian, before you move on. Say that again.
Okay. If you move the slider, you can move the moon or the sun, the moon here, and you can move the slider and show different times of the phase or different times of the moon's rising and setting and whatever else. But the illumination doesn't change. So on this next slide, up at the right-hand corner in the same position, they have 98.4% illumination. But what they're referencing there is after the moon rises that night at 9:05 in the evening. That's what they're referencing there. So they're not saying that they're not saying that in the morning time here that it's only 98.4% illumination. No, that's based on the next rising, which is that night at 9:05. But what I have here is I'm showing.
Wait there. So they're saying all night it's 98%, and it doesn't wax or
The next
wane
night.
from that.
Yeah, the next night.
Until the next night. But for that whole night, the amount of waxing, waning, or fullness remains the same. Is that what you're saying time and date show?
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying that is that when the moon rises later on the 1st of September for me at 9:05, from that point on, there'll be a 98.4% illumination all night. That's what they're saying. The reason I'm pointing that out is that the most they ever give is 99.9%. And that is the moon that I'm referencing, not the one that rises at 9:05 later on that night. I'm referencing the moon that rose the evening beforehand. That is given a 99.9% illumination, and it stays at that all the way until it's setting, until it's after setting, right? So the reason I'm pointing that out is because ballers are going to try and point up at, it's only 98.4%. Trying to split here as being stupid, creating stupid arguments. That has nothing to do with the moon. The moon I'm talking about. The moon I'm talking about is the setting of the night on the 1st of September from the moon that rose on the 31st of August. So the next night, the 98.4% is only based on the 9:05 rising and above and past that from the 1st of September to the 2nd of September. So it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is the very full moon, the one that hasn't been seen in 12 years. I think they called it super blue moon, right? That's this one, and it's given it's 100% illumination. They only give it a 99.9% for whatever reason on time of days, but that's what it is, right? Do you want to do a super chat, Kiwi? I'll get back to this in a second.
Yeah, hold on. My son's going crazy, but I'll read it off real quick. Lumpy gas in a vacuum. I got a long story I want to share. Y'all want to DM anyone, want to hear at Nathan, I'll pay you 20 for a 20-minute chat.
Thanks, Lumpy Gas. Appreciate it. And you didn't say super chat again.
I tried.
I heard that.
I'm sorry. My son's going insane.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, I'll continue on. Okay, so What I'm referencing here is the moon for me. This is a half an hour after I took that video now, remember. And you can see how high the moon is in the sky, and it's totally daylight, right? Morning, sun is up, daylight, right? Now, you can't go by what time of day it says about the sun, because that's based on a ball, right? They're trying to base that all mathematically on a ball, right? But it doesn't matter, because I show here that at 7:15 in the morning, for me, the full moon was 8 degrees, right? That'd be degrees above a horizon, 8 degrees above the horizon for me. That's the full moon, the full blue, super blue moon was at 7:15, 8 degrees above the horizon. If you go to the next slide, please, Kiwi.
Before you do, in that pictures that I showed, simple as they were, there is a terminator line, isn't there? And as I described it, they're kind of set. Midday is bang on looking one way at the sun and a full moon. Midnight is bang on looking for your GP the other side. Now, the terminator line would be 6 o'clock, morning or evening, where any apologetics could be made, because, like I said, there's a difference between your local horizon and celestial horizon. You're now suggesting 7 o'clock in the morning, which is another 15 degrees, isn't it? It's another hour away. But you're also saying that 15 degrees away, but you're also citing 8 degrees above the horizon. That creates problems in a heliocentric model, those numbers to me, Brian.
Yeah, because it's actually, if it's 7:15, it would be about 18 degrees more. It would be 18 degrees more of a turn. So it is, and
of a turn away from the moon, yeah. Of a turn away from the moon that's supposedly in direct alignment with the Earth and the sun. And then you can see that sun as well. Yeah, I don't know how high it is above the horizon at that point in terms of that flat Earth measurement, but again, that's going to reduce anything that should be theoretically 180 degrees. We've got a full moon, so the angular difference in the sky we're seeing should, theoretically it's not possible, but the angular difference we should see should be 180. Both at this point of the moon cycle should be 180 degrees from the observer sat in the middle.
Well, it's not possible for me to see a full moon in daytime within their paradigm. It's not possible. Even if it's all about 6 in the morning, it's still not possible for me to see a full moon. It's just not, it's impossible. If you go by the fact that I'm claiming to be on a rotating sphere, I'm still turning towards the sun. So there won't be, you have to take the height that the full moon was in as well. Because this is a half an hour later. Half an hour later, it's still 8 degrees above the horizon. Now, this has nothing to do with trying to bring in celestial refraction or any of that, because the time and date don't deal with that. They're giving an actual height above the horizon, right? So they're giving an 8 degrees above the horizon. So a half an hour beforehand, it could have been 25 or 30 degrees above the horizon. I don't know what it was, but it was a lot more than 8 degrees, even as you can see from the video. And I would have got more video of it, except for the clouds went across it. So no matter what way to try and work it, but there's no way for the moon to be that high in the sky at 7:15 in the morning, and for me to see a total full moon in absolute daylight, and it still be 8 degrees above the horizon for me at 7:15, half an hour later. It's just not possible within what they claim. It just isn't possible. But I move on to the next one. Not to hope we can come back to this. But if I move on to the next one, please, Kiwi, the next slide, please. When you're ready. Yeah,
you got
it. This is it.
Yep.
Good. Thank you. So this is the sun, right? For me, they said the sun rose at 6:39, right? For me, sunrise at 6:39. Now it was 6:46 when I got that video. So the sun was rising according to time and date. Now I would say it was after rising, but time and date are going to use a calculation based on a ball. or or an equatorial plane of a ball. But well, actually, no, they'll be using the ball for that. Sorry, but here at 7:15, the sun was 5 degrees above the horizon. So that means the sun and the full moon were both above the horizon at a median of about 6.5 to 7 degrees. The moon was 8 degrees and the sun was 5 degrees at 7:15 in the morning for me. So both of them, both full moon and obviously the sun is always full, was up above the horizon at the same time for me. That's not supposed to happen on a globe. That's within their paradigm. That's no claims being made by us. Just this is something that they say, according to their paradigm that Adam showed, that's not possible. If you want to go on to the next one, please, QE. Thank you. These are just some images I got, and I filtered them just to show that if you can see to the right side of the moon, there's a little bit of the edge of it not showing. That could be down to the camera, but there was a little bit of cloud and just blocking it slightly. But down at the bottom right-hand corner there, you can see there was cloud blocking that portion. So the moon doesn't look, it looks a little bit oblong. But that's the only reason. I'm going to show this now in a second. I'm only showing these kind of things because these are the kind of things borders going to want to. They're going to want to jump on stupid stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because they won't have a way around it. Mm-hmm. So the next slide, please, QE. Here I do a very faint image. It might be difficult for the audience to see, but I just show very faintly where the cloud is encompassing in on the moon. Right. Next slide, please, QE. Thank you. Here, with more better filtering, you can see that the black area on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that's taking up what would be the full circle of the moon, and over to the left, there you can see there's some kind of blockage, or maybe it's just the angle I'm at, where it's making it look like there's a straight line there at the side of the moon. There isn't. That's just, as I said, I would have taken more footage, except for the fact that cloud was coming in over in front of it. There was already thin cloud there. Next slide, please, QE. So this is a filtered one image where you can see that the moon is having its bottom right-hand corner blocked by this. The black is all cloud, and the darker brown, and still a bit over on the left-hand side. And just the last slide, then, QE, if you don't mind, please. And this is an up close of the slide that was just shown. As you can see, the cloud is blocking us from seeing the full circle of the moon. So I'm just showing here and proving that that moon was 100% full. It is the full moon that supposedly wasn't seen for 12 years as this super blue moon. There it is in the daytime for me. That's it. I don't know how they're going to explain this, but that's it. That's it. Thank you.
That's it. That's it for me. That's all I need. It's all over. Yeah, outstanding work, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I ditto. That was really good.
Any comments or questions?
I'll say thank you to fill the silence then.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. I say it's hard to put a claim, but it's just easy to hold up their claim when we observe reality.
Well, if we see the moon doing something crazy we never saw it do before tomorrow, we don't have to worry about that because we don't make any claims about it. We don't claim to know what it is, how it does what it does, what it's comprised of. You know what I mean? The only claim we make is that it was created by the Creator, by God. That's the only claim we make. Other than that, whatever it does, it's not to do with us. We don't have any paradigm that we're stuck holding. But they do, don't they? That's the problem.
And those numbers you've shown, Brian, in terms of elevation angles, I know you can go, we know that. Those numbers you've shown in terms of elevation angles, hopefully coupled with what I've showed in terms of what their claim is, yeah, and they will take it to the celestial horizon. I guarantee they have to. It's the only place to try and save something. Even there, those ones are really good because we're 7 o'clock in the morning and we've got the two at less than, there's nowhere near 180 degrees between the two of them, with a full moon, it has to be between the two bodies because that's why it's a full moon, because it's in alignment with you on the, So there has to be 180. It's hard to see, but you can see the sun. I mean, look at that there. Look, if you were high up on a hill, that's on the horizon, isn't it? If not urgent, and you can see how high it is there. So to me, that's the killer. That's the killer shot in terms of the numbers. And I know maps don't vote, but
Can I make a claim?
Yeah, go on.
When I'm driving at night in the car and the moon is out, it always seems like it's following me around.
Oh, brother.
You're paranoid.
I'm not going to go into too much about it, but I have noticed that with the moon myself, Arwen. I noticed that, and I'll tell a story. I came out of my house one night, and I drove directly north. The moon was off to my right, which means it was off to my east, but it was actually northeast. Then I turned to go east, directly east, right, and the moon was then to my north. I turned again and went directly south, and the moon was southeast of me. Then I turned and went east again, and the moon ended up north of me again, I think it was. So there was just no way to state where the moon was. It was like no matter, it was very, and my directions, I was thinking about it at the time, my directions were very much north, east, south, east. There was no like deviation from that. They were the exact directions I was going. And no matter what I did, the moon was going from one side of the sky to the other. And I wasn't after traveling any distance. I was in the car maybe 4 minutes at most, and traveling slow.
So it was just orbiting you, perhaps.
Well, it's a mystery, a complete mystery. I don't know what else to say. And like the time of day will say that the sun was rising only rose at what time did they say the sun rose at for me that morning? 6:39. But I would say the sun was already after rising at that point, because their 6:39 is based off of a globe, even though they are using a flat plane because they're giving an altitude. Do you know what I mean? So they're using a flat plane, but for me, because when they put a tangent there and they talk about altitude, that tangent is your horizon. If you were at sea, you would be looking at the sun and the full moon above an horizon at either side of your boat, if you understand what I mean. If your boat was faced to the south or to the north, to your east and your west, you're seeing a moon and a sun above the sea horizon. But they have to call that a tangent, don't they? Sorry, Adam.
Can we go back to one of my pictures, QE, just to express that tangent? There might be one that I'll see if we've got a number that's probably the most applicable.
You're gonna have to wait for a minute. I just want to keep this out here, Adam, because Baltards, you have some splaining to do with this mug. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
You're liking this, aren't you? This has grown on you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's growing. Yeah, it is. Yeah, this particular one is. Yes.
There might actually be better video out there of it, because there might be a lot of people out there videoing it without realizing it. On better cameras than I had. So there might be a lot of footage out there that we're not even aware of. I just happened to see it. I just happened to know that can't be like, at the time.
1 second, Adam.
You just go to the basic one, slide 8, when you're there.
Slide 8.
Yeah. Can you draw on the screen?
No.
That's a shame.
Hold on. Hold on, I gotta share it.
Brian's talking about a tangent, and maybe if you just scroll to the next slide, and then we'll flip back in a second. That's the tangent we're talking about, that visible horizon there. You're the observer, and in their world, that's what you do. You drop a plumb line to the center of the Earth. In case you're going to all your observations in a minute. But you do that, and you create a tangent wherever you're observing from. You create a tangent, which will be your visible horizon. If we go back, QA to slide 8, we've got a full moon. Okay, we can see where the moon is in position, but what we've got is we've got that terminator line. We know we're not at 6 o'clock, we're at 7, so we can go 15 degrees past that, so towards 11 o'clock if that top bit is midday. So we're back there now. Draw your tangent line at that 11 o'clock point, and look where it goes. And it will cut across, won't it? Across the screen. But it wasn't. It's only going to encompass the half moon. It's not even going to see the waning gibbous. Not going to see the full moon at 7 o'clock, creating that tangent line. Yeah, does that make sense to everyone? And you see the tangent line that you would draw.
Yeah.
Oh, you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
No, we're not asking you what that. Does that make sense?
I was just going to.
I just want to clarify this point because it's a really important point. If you can start to understand this diagram and draw your tangent lines on for a ball, you can start to see why they're not possible, irrespective of the scale. Understand? Because they're not within the visible heavens to you. They're not there because of where you are and what time it is, where the moon is during its phase. It's going to be below you because the Earth's blocking it. You're not on a flat plane. You know what I mean? In this claim, we're on the ball, and the ball's obstructing everything, making every viewpoint tangent based. Twist away from these things. So does that make sense? How you can't see this thing? It sits below at 7 o'clock. Looking at this diagram, at 7 o'clock in the morning, there's no visible line of sight to the moon. You've got to look through the Earth.
Yep.
So this is like the opposite of what my son is saying. So this is really good.
Then the opposite of what your son is saying is it opposes the heliocentric model then.
Yeah, because he's saying from a flat plane you won't be able to see this, or you won't be able to see that. But now you're showing me from a sphere, you shouldn't be able to see any of these things because it's going to be being blocked.
If I could just add in a little bit of Einstein here, right? Because that's something that a lot of people, I'm not saying people on the panel here, because I'm sure you know it, but a lot of people don't realize. Einstein claimed that space-time was flat, right? Now, when the claim of gravity comes up, it's a claim of it being an effect due to the uneven distribution of mass curving space and time, right? But what that means, what a lot of people don't realize, is that if you look at that diagram there, the center of the sun on the left that Adam has, the center of the globe Earth, and the center of the moon, all must be in alignment with each other. That's what it actually means. So the center of Mars, the center of everything, they're always in an alignment with each other. So it's like a massive flat plane with all different size spheres all placed into this plane where the center of them all align up as one. Like they're all, there's a flat plane basically, like a massive celestial plane running through the center of all of them. So if we take this diagram here, then even if we cut the globe out in half, it's the equatorial plane would still be too high for even within the nighttime there to be able to see a full moon. Right, so what they try to do is they try to bring in distances. Oh, the moon is this far away and the sun is that far away. So if you stood on the top of the globe out there, at that equator, or that the line. Well, I can't remember what's the name of the line?
Terminator.
The Terminator line. Sorry, thank you, Terminator line. If you were to stand at the top of that globe there, for you to see a full moon in what they're talking about there, with this scale, you'd have to look down. Now they'd make the moon further away, which means you're supposed to be able to see out the way towards the moon. Now, if you put a tangent there, that means that the moon, right, would have to appear higher than it is there, right, for you to be able to see it. But that actually goes against general relativity. But that's it. We won't go too far into that. Because general relativity places the center of the moon in alignment with the center of the globe. But if for that moon in the daytime to be seen, that means that moon has to be above, and the sun has to be above the line that you place at the top of that globe there.
Yep.
You place one big tangent across, and as well as that, you have to take human beings' eyesight and their elevation as to how much they can see. So they have to be above that point for it to be possible at all.
Oh, man.
Remember that
it can't be. In general relativity, that's impossible.
The moon's getting lit up. From if you go and stand on the other side of the room, the phases of the moon will be different. All of this is a description of how the phases of the moon are based upon you being the Earth in the heliocentric model. So all of these changes are based on the relative positions. This is the important point, yeah? And what they're having to do is demonstrate that, or what we're showing is that we can show phases of the moon that are in contradiction to the relative positions. The tangent example being a great way of hopefully showing people that there's no way, it doesn't matter the scale or anything, it's below the line based in the geometric assumptions of their heliocentric model. They can't get past that, and what Brian's shown, to me, is an absolute cracker, because we've got well less than 180 degrees when there's a full moon, irrespective of the time of day, which makes it more problematic. We've got well less than 180 degrees of separation from the observer on the Earth of the sun and moon. That's so problematic for the heliocentric description of the phases of the moon.
In the video that you had, you sent to QE to play, where the lady was shown as if her head was the globe Earth, and that would mean her eyes are the observer. And then for her to create a full moon in that position, the light source that she was using as the sun needed to be to the back of her head. You know what I mean? So that if you mix that and the video I have put up there together, they're completely in. You know, that's what the globe was claimed. This is what happens in reality. It's one of those situations, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a paradox. Yep.
Yep, definitely.
Game over again?
Yes.
It's not just Brian's observation. It's everybody's lives. Yeah, we've seen fullish moons, waning gibbous, waxing gibbous in the afternoon at midday. Yeah, we've seen them. Yeah, we've seen waning or a waxing crescent at night, at midnight. Yeah, we've seen it at 2 we've seen these things. These things we've all seen in reality raise questions about the heliocentric model. Just look at it.
Exactly, Adam. It's like I just happened to know what I was looking at was a problem for heliocentrism. As I said, lots of people have seen these things, and there could be a lot of people who, even people who intentionally videoed the moon, and they have video of this exact event happening, with high quality from the right position, and they don't even realize that the sun and moon shouldn't be above the horizon at the same time.
Brian, but they're going to be, I guarantee people are going to start footage of it now when they hear this video. People are going to start getting pictures and videos.
Well, there's meant to be other videos out there. I just happened to see it. There's meant to be other videos out there of this exact thing, and it may not even be that moon, but very likely was that moon because it was a very popular moon from an astronomy point of view because it hadn't happened for 12 years. And I don't know, I think it'll be another 12 years or something before it happens. I could be wrong about that, but I know it hasn't happened for 12 years. So there's meant to be other video out there of this exact thing where they're showing the sun and the moon above the horizon without realizing that can't happen within their paradigm. Do you know what I mean? There has to be, like, I can't be the only person that ever videoed that.
Can you put up slide 14, please, Kay?
What was that? Grumpus?
He's had to press so many buttons tonight between videos, my presentation, Brian's. It's just to summarise the point.
Oh, he's job complaining.
If you look at the screen now, it's just to summarise the point. So I'll ask the question again. So how can we ever see gibbous moons during the day or a crescent moon during the night? We know what their model claims, and yet all of us have first-hand experience of contradiction of that model.
That's very interesting.
I'm waiting on an answer.
Brian's example is the best I've ever seen. It's a cracker. What is, Brian?
Well, the thing about it is that people may not know to video that. They may not, like, I knew that has to be videoed immediately. You know what I mean? Immediately, I needed a camera. If my phone was out of power, I was going and waking my friend up and getting his phone off him immediately to do it. Because I knew it needed to be videoed or needed to be photographed and detailed. A lot of people won't realize that. And that's the difference. They don't realize. They go, oh, look, there's a nice moon. And they just, because they don't know any different.
That was one of the first questions I asked when I became a flat earther. How am I seeing the moon and the sun out at the same time?
Some of it they can explain. Some of it they can explain up to a point. But as Adam pointed out, there's a load of it they can't. Yeah, and this observation they can't. But they can, you know what I mean? If time and date, what time and date say is that, I think what they said, I'll get, in 1 second I'll get what they said. So okay, this is from time and date. So, by definition, a full moon can usually only be seen during the night. If you have ever spotted a full moon just after sunrise or just before sunset, it is very likely that you saw it at least 1 day before or 1 day after the actual moon phase. So what they're stating there is that they're talking about the moon the next night or the moon on the previous night. So for me, it would be the moon on the 30th of that rose on the 30th of September, or the moon that was up that rose on the 1st of September, but not the moon that rose on the 31st or the 30th. Sorry, they're either talking about the moon that rose for me on the 30th of August or the moon that rose on the 1st of September. They're not talking about the moon that rose on the 31st of August that didn't set until the 1st of September, because that's the actual full moon. So even here they have that little thing is, they're trying to make a little apologetic, like, so by definition, a full moon can usually, this is it, usually only be seen during the night. If you have ever spotted a full moon just after sunrise or just before sunset, it is very likely that you saw it at least, at least 1 day before or after the actual full moon phase. But that is not. This is in complete opposition to that.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I mentioned celestial and visible. Okay, if you take it to the celestial, there's just enough leeway in the model for you to move on and stay on a ball. Yeah. But to do that, you've got to realize that your viewing position becomes hell. Yeah. Not where you claim and you know you were when you were viewing it. Creating flat angles off flat Earth to put into the computer to build the circular global model. Yeah. This is why Brian's thing's so good. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There is no excuse for that. Yeah. Whether it's 99, 98% moon. Is it 2 degrees above the horizon, that moon, Brian?
Show it was 8 degrees at 7:15, and this is a half an hour before that, so it could have been 20 degrees. I can find out exactly what it was in a moment now.
There's so much latitude that they can't explain. Yeah, and you did a great job of showing the fullness of the moon. Or is it 99.5%? I'll give you that. I'm not. It doesn't. That's not an excuse for the relative positions of the tangent that I'm stood on. Yeah. When I look at these two celestial objects, that's not commensurate with a heliocentric model.
Well, that's why I was pointing out the percentage, because the moon I showed there is claimed by time and date to be totally, fully illuminated. They never give more than 99.9% illumination, and that's what they give for that exact moon, fully illuminated. So they have no excuses here. I can read out another one here from Greenwich. What is this from? Sorry, just get this site name there. Royal Museums Greenwich, right? So that's pretty serious heavy hitter there. Why is yeah, right, Greenwich, Royal Museums Greenwich is a pretty big hitter. Why is there a full moon in the middle of the day? Question mark. Some of the times included in the table show full moons happening in the middle of the day. How can this be? While you can often see the moon even during the day, it may at first seem odd to think of a full moon occurring during daylight hours. However, there is a straightforward explanation. The reason this happens is that the time refers to the exact moment when the sun and moon are aligned on opposite sides of the earth. This moment is known as the SYZYGY, ZZ, I don't know what kind of word that is, of the Sun-Earth-Moon system, and can happen at any time, day or night. The moon will still look full either on the night before or the evening after the exact moment of full moon. So what they're saying there is, yeah, it can happen at any time. That's what what's this again? The Royal Museums Greenwich. So if they're saying it can happen at any time, but not according to the model that they're supposed to promote, it can't. You know, it seems to be.
Sounds like they're trying to cover their tracks.
It's more apologetics, because then they have to.
Okay, so the point of when I say direct alignment, that point is actually very, 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 very specific, both to the lunar phase and the Earth rotation phase, because there's only one point when they're totally in direct alignment. Because remember, you've got in this case, two moving bodies. You got the Earth moving, you got the moon keeping up with that, but the moon also going through its phases as it rotates around. So there is just one specific point, I suppose, from a very technical point of view, that the moon is fully 100% and its GP at midnight, and that would be that point. Even from other places on the ball, because of libration, you wouldn't have a full moon, and that's what they'll mitigate for. But you all have full moon on the same night all the time. That's what they'll mitigate for. In the maths, I think it's, but it's not an apologetic, is all I'd say, Brian. It's kind of, as we said earlier, look at the positions, relative positions, look at the phasers, look how far you're going to get away before you get a gibbous moon. Here you're talking about next to nothing difference. as your pictures show. Yeah, if they're going to claim it's not 100% full moon, well, look how not 100% it virtually is. If you see my point.
Well,
It's a moot point.
Yeah, but that's why I have focused on the illumination part, because they can't claim that this is not the 100% full moon because of when I took the video. When I took the video, that even according to time and date is the exact full moon that has 99.9% or 100%, let's call it, illumination. And the fact that it's the first super blue moon in 12 years as well. It's an iconic moon. Yeah.
So from a maths point of view, if this is the exact moment that the full moon is at its full 100%, now we know that it's heliocentric or flat. Its GP is not at your zenith. Where its zenith is, should be midnight. Right? Midnight. Yeah?
Yeah.
It has to be. If this is the point of full 100% for this cycle, it has to be midnight there, which means it's in direct alignment. So you're now at 7 o'clock in the morning, yeah? And we know what that means in terms of your viewing tangent. Yet there it is above your horizon when it can't be, because there's all the Earth, because its zenith point is on the other side of the ball. Yeah, it's, what is it, 7 hours away of rotation away from that zenith point. 7, yeah, and yet there it is in your visible eye line. It should be below. It has to be below it if that's the point of totality, shall we call it? 100%. It has to be, and yet there it is, defying that. Not in of
exactly,
itself, but because of the position of the sun relative to it. That's the defiance point. If at that point they have to be 180 degrees apart. That's the 100% point. But the 100% point, those two celestial objects in the heliocentric model are defined as being from the observer, i.e. the Earth, the lady's head, 180 degrees opposite to each other from the observer. How it should be. Yeah. You've got 20 degrees.
Another globe debunk, right?
Just one sec. You've got 20 degrees on that side for the moon, and I don't know, let's call it 2 degrees even. I know if you got on your roof, you'd see that, but call it 2 degrees. Just call it 20 degrees. That's 160 degrees. We've got a problem if what I described at the beginning presentation, yeah, is to hold true. It's in complete defiance. It can't be 180 degrees. There has to be 180 degrees, not 160. Brian's demonstrating.
Yeah.
Let's call it 160. I think that's generous, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, I'm just going to find out now. Would have been for me on September the 4th. Okay. For me on that 1st of September at 6:46 in the morning, 6:46 in the morning. That was claimed to be 12 degrees. So that moon right there and then is claimed to be 12 degrees above the horizon.
No way.
Now no way.
No
exactly.
way.
That's what I was. Yeah.
I was going to jump on that earlier, but I thought it was a minor point with the presentation. That's not 12 degrees.
No, exactly. This is the thing. When I was looking up at that, I was going, that's 24 to 30 degrees above the horizon, because I'm actually, where I live is up at a high point. So the actual sea horizon would be way below me.
Yep.
I'm a good bit above sea level. Yep. So there's no way that's 12 degrees. So they're just saying, so when they say a half an hour later it was 8 degrees, it was probably 12 degrees at that point. And God knows how many degrees the sun was above the horizon, because at this point you could see the sun shining. So there's no way the sun was not at least starting to come up, if not being already well above the horizon. What's funny is the search term I put into Google there a few minutes ago was full moon during the morning, and the first couple I got like time and date. Then I got I got Royal Museums Greenwich. I'd send that on, and they addressed full moon, how we would see the full moon basically in the morning or in the daytime. And of course, they had to bring in, oh, well, you might be seeing the moon the day prior or the day after, and it might look full. But Royal Museums Greenwich basically addresses it, well, you can see it, blah, 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 and not really giving it much thought. But as you go down the page and it starts heading towards NASA and Forbes and everything, all they want to talk about is how can you see the moon in the daytime? So straight away, Google are trying to kind of red herring away from what the actual question is. You know, how do we see a full moon in the daytime? The actual full moon. They don't want, because they know this is they can't, this is not good for them. So they have to start slowly moving the topic away. You know, instead of talking about red, they want to talk about crimson, this kind of thing.
No, yellow.
We've got a question.
Yellow, yeah.
If he's there. You there, Nath?
Yes, but I wasn't expecting to be jump on the mute button, but yes, go ahead.
Would you consider this a lunar black swan?
I wouldn't want to give it that name. I'm glad you brought it up, and it's the highest compliment for you, Quantum Eraser, that every globe Earth proof or flat Earth, globe Earth debunking or flat Earth proof always has a yardstick to live up to.
Yeah.
Is this worthy of the title Black Swan? Is what I hear, and you should have a wry smile when you hear things like that, QE.
I did.
But to answer you in honesty, if it wasn't for the fact that it sort of, you know, it has it then measured up to a different thing as a yardstick, I think this is exceptional. I think this is really good. And, you know, if Anthony Riley wasn't so lazy, he'd have got there eventually.
Shout out to Anthony.
But he was onto something. Do you remember when he got a lot of ridicule? Because
yes.
The way he paraphrased this was to say there should be an eclipse. That's how he put it. And they just ridiculed him, and he ended up making a bet with Mark Taylor, I think, or something like that. And it all descended into a clash of personalities rather than the argument. And it was kind of, why is he catching so much flack for this when they're saying it's so obvious and you should just understand this? You're like, well, because there's normally more to it when there's so much. When you're over, what's the saying? When you're over the target, you catch a lot of flack. Mm-hmm. Well, that was Anthony Riley back in the day. So as much as I'm making a joke of this, you know, he caught a lot of flack for this when he first started talking about it. And, you know, it's because at the end of that little path was a little pot of gold, you know, and it just needed digging up and polishing.
Yep.
Why? It's a really good point you make. Why? Because does anybody know what he was over? Yeah, because these are flaws in the heliocentric model. Yeah. But why doesn't the sun do it? What's the excuse? The moon do it? It's because it's transiting, doing the same transit that the heliocentric model excuses because of the rotation and a tilt of the Earth. Yeah. And that's why the sun moves between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn throughout the year. Yeah. Now, the shitter about the moon is it does it every single month. Now, the excuse for the heliocentric is that's why it doesn't block the sun and cause an eclipse every month. It's only because of that transition that sometimes there's an alignment. That's why he was attacked. It's a really big weak point because now we've got two We've got the causation for the sun transiting between the tropics, one reason. But the moon, keeping its constant face to us, also does the same passage, but every month, but not for this. And I don't know the cause. I've yet to hear it.
Well, just on not a side note, but it's about the new moon. When I looked in and I searched as best as I could, as many sites as possible, and I asked the ballers, as many of them as possible, to send me proof of the new moon being visible in the daytime, that there was some evidence that this thing was actually there in the sky. Now, why not? They started obviously kind of saying, so you're claiming it's not there. I said, I'm not making any claims. I'm saying there is a claim that it's supposed to be there, and I'm looking for evidence that supports this claim. Now, the best I came across was this guy who brought out a step ladder, you know, like a step ladder that you'd have, it'd be like a triangle. And he put a piece of cardboard up on it and cut a hole in the cardboard. So he had a pretty good camera and all that, and a big long lens. And he was looking out to where the full moon, the new moon should be if it's actually there. And it was the biggest fraud of all, because the guy came back with a JPEG image. Now, that's not an observation. A JPEG is not an observation of the moon. It was a JPEG image that was created on a computer that showed a really highly pixelated heap of nothing. And like that was and even when I downloaded the JPEG, it was a tiny little thing. So the guy went out and tried to film, and with particular equipment, the new moon in the sky. He absolutely failed, and he came up with a JPEG that he made on a computer. That's all I could see had happened.
That was the only point, wasn't it? That he kept putting to that and did consistently. Show me this new moon. It must be there. You saw in the video I showed of the lady showing you what the phases are. It must be there. It's got to be. If it's a ball, there's going to be light bouncing off the top of it, because it's a ball, isn't it? Yeah, the moon. So because of the way light behaves, which we're not going to argue, the way it bounces off a spherical surface, there will be something to pick up. Hence why you get why you get the ring of fire sometimes, yeah?
Yep. Yes.
But also why you get your phasers. That's the whole claim of what's going off. This is your claim. How light behaves when bouncing off a spherical surface. Now, you can't put that surface directly between you and the observer and the light source and then not be an effect. That's nonsense. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. What I did was I got video. I downloaded a video from this, screenshots of a video that a guy had made during the 2017 total solar eclipse in America. This guy had made this video from, I think it was Maine or somewhere like that. I was not sure exactly the state, but his video, right, was a video of the eclipse happening, and then he showed this other filtering of part of his video, or so I can't remember exactly how it worked. But then he was showing how when he brought out the filtering, it showed the moon, right? That what was going in front of the sun was actually the moon. And I got this sent to me as proof that this guy had videoed the eclipse and then showed that it was actually the moon that was going in front of the sun. Now, it wouldn't matter if that was the case. That doesn't make any difference to me, but I just wanted evidence of it. And what it turned out it was, and I had several ballers who were trying to claim this was actually happening, and they all knew, and it took me a moment to catch on to it, but they all knew what your man was doing. He was after making a switch between his footage and stellarium. And he was showing me stellarium showing it being the moon, and there was no actual observation of it being the moon. So what I did is I took screenshots. I won't go showing them now because I don't want to complicate matters. This is for a different argument. Well, it's not different argument, but we're talking about the other side of the coin, right? Like we're talking about a circle. But I took many screenshots, and I did my best in 3 different softwares to use as many filters as possible to see if this looked like the moon. And he had the moon exactly from Stellarium as it should look from his position if it was going in front of the sun. This new moon, what it should look, what face of the moon he's seeing, where everything should be, blah, blah, blah. And every time, no matter what filter I used, something different kept on coming out. It was not the moon. What was showing up was something, but it wasn't showing up what the moon should look like from his. It wasn't even showing up like what the moon should look like from anyone's. There did seem to be some diagram, and that's not diagrams, but some pattern on what I was looking at, but it had nothing to do with the moon. And I looked at as many pictures of the moon as I could find, and none of them matched this. And they certainly didn't match. None of them matched what I was seeing and what I have on my computer, and none of them, not especially on man's what would have been from, according to Stellarium, the angle your man was looking at the moon, what he should have seen. It had nothing to do with the moon. Now, I'm not claiming that there isn't the moon going in front of the sun during a solar eclipse, but I am claiming that I have yet to see evidence that it is. And I have evidence that shows that it's not, that, well, not so much that it's not the moon, but I have evidence to show that it doesn't support it being the moon.
That's very interesting.
Summaries. Summaries. Adam, summary of your presentation.
Or a call to action for the audience after the fact. If you want to leave a comment,
Super chat.
this needs a title, like when it was compared by Adam to the Black Swan. Well, it does kind of need a title. So, answers on a postcard / put your comment below.
Super chat. We got one from the Adam Meakin, and his super chat is super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat.
And that's a super chat.
Summaries. Adam.
Well, like I say, the purpose of this was just to just make sure people understand what they're claiming. If I'm being a little honest, I've not fully evaluated Brian's pictures, and there's a lot that it would need backing up. And like I said, there's a lot of apologetics that the ballers would give. It's problematic. I use the flippant term, is this a lunar black swan? We've not all got P900s and great cameras, but we can all observe luminaries. We can look at the sun, we can look at the moon. And I think it's not so much a call to action, but it is something that you can look at yourself and ponder. Does this fit? Yeah. Does it work in their model? Something you can put to friends that are teetering on this, that you can show them. Because the heavens display all things. And hopefully people will realise what he doesn't display is heliocentrism. In terms of what we showed tonight, it's about deconstructing the heliocentric model. And hopefully this bit, we've done it quite well. In terms of explaining what their model is, but then showing you reality. So hopefully, if a baller brings this up, you don't need to necessarily get in your Lamborghini, jump on Highway 19, straight to flat Earth. You can help them through their pain with this, and hopefully demonstrate them and give them a reason to pause and think without just flat smacking the crap out of them that sometimes they might not necessarily understand. If you destroy their ball, that's things for them to ponder on. I'm done.
My personal opinion is that this is a lunar black swan. The one that Brian showed with the full moon in the morning It's slam dunk. To me. Now, that's just me personally. Go ahead, Brian.
But before Brian does, I open this up because I've done stuff with it. Mike Kavanagh, we did stuff with on back in Iron Realm days. I'd say that's why I described the apologetics they'll use to do this. Brian's is a freaking cracker. Yeah, I'd like to see them defend this on a ball. Yeah, the moon on a ball. I want to see him defend Brian's position because. Even if you believe time and date, it's still not reasonable. It still doesn't work in the heliocentric model.
Correct. Nice choice of word, by the way.
I'm considered. Neil, what am I? Where is he? If nothing else. But that's the point. We're not. I am being considered because I'm not trying to make a claim. I'm just trying to demonstrate that this is problematic in the extreme. There isn't the data out there, but it doesn't fit, as you can see. But it's something you can go and do yourself, isn't it? For a bit of fun. Watch these phases.
Listen, we've all seen full moons during the day. I never gave it a second thought. Never hit me. Didn't think about it. So this is not a surprise that Brian got it on camera. I've seen numerous of them in my life. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate to what I'm saying. Yeah. Brian, summary.
Yes. Well,
Can you hear me?
Sorry, go on, Neil. You go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess I wasn't being heard before because QE just kept talking right through me, but I guess I wasn't on. I've seen them before as well, but I remember Nathan saying that they have an answer for everything with the moon phases in the heliocentric model. So I never really gave it quite enough thought. But thank God for Brian.
Well, you asked earlier, Neil, you said during the show, you're like, I've looked at the moon during the day and said, surely that's not possible. Well, you go back to 2014 or whatever it is I first came onto this scene. And again, one of the first videos I ever made on this subject was me out looking at the moon going, surely this isn't possible in the day. And then somebody taking me to one side, Chris Monk, and showing it me in his Blender heliocentric model and showing me how it absolutely was possible. Now, it's not to say that since there's been other examples of what have been labelled impossible moons, but in this instance, it's to say a full moon during the day is impossible for a globe Earth model. That's a fairly concise statement that I've never been able to achieve. All I've ever done is had various quote impossible moons shown to me, and then I've had them taken apart by heliocentrists where they show that it's absolutely possible in their model. So it's not just moon in the day. It's full moon in the day. It's a killer.
It is. That's why this one's so good, Nathan. But if Chris Monk did it for you as well, yeah? And remember what they do. So this is where the Lamborghini comes into effect. And the visual horizon. That's reality. Okay? Whatever's underneath, whether it be your flat plane we're on, or a dingleberry, that's where the measurement's coming from. Now they take that tangent and all the angles are taken from that tangent, but they're then wrapped around the ball or taken to hell. They're taken to hell first to be extrapolated in there, wrapping around the ball. Yeah, that's what they do, even in Chris Monk stuff. And this is why I said it wasn't until I'd done and sat through 10th homework and all the things with regards to the sextant that those extra lines I drew on, which weren't really pertinent back then, make sense now, how they put it together so that Chris Monk Seeley can show you how it works on a ball. I'd ask people when they see that See where they take their graphics to. They'll take it to hell. They'll open the field of view up. Different to the real horizon that the observer has, where you take the measurement from. They'll take it to the center of hell and extrapolate it from there to allow it to happen and be plausible in the heliocentric model. That's the trick. That's the switcheroo here. Yeah, that gives them that movement.
That's a different understanding, though, isn't it? That is an understanding, because at a more crude level, you can just understand that this is impossible without having any really understanding of how you'll need a flat Earth for that. But what you're saying is, as soon as they start talking about angles, you can have to, if you understand the argument, point out that you're talking about flat Earth here. You're making your argument with a flat Earth measurement.
Yes, they build the computer model, the Stellarium, the whatever model, whether it's Chris is in whatever. They build that model. The angles they use aren't applied on the ball where the observer is that measures the angles in reality. They take them to the center of the ball when they do it for any computer thing or Stellarium. What they put in, everything's represented for the observer then from the center of the Earth. And that, look at what that does. I showed you in the slides. Look at what that does. It gives them the leeway that's required for the heliocentric model. Except I've not seen anything as obtuse as Brian's. That really does.
Well,
I'm interested to see people and the ballers rebut it, even in Stellarium or wherever. I'm hoping
Brian will give his summary now, but when he does, I'm hoping he'll put it in such a way that he's saying this is what's not possible for a globe, and keep it as concise as he can. I obviously don't want the summary to be concise, just the point that the audience member should take away from this in the most round way.
Well, I think the difference between the footage I have and a lot of other footage that people may have had is that I got it at an iconic full moon. So it's not the day before a full moon or the day after a full moon. Not that they could explain that anyway. But the point is that I got it at an iconic one, which hadn't been seen for 12 years. And I have all the information from time and date, which is the only place ballers can go to, that shows that what I'm showing. And I have the video, I have a photograph that I took before the video with the times, and I have my location. I don't want to put out my full location, obviously, because I'd be doxing myself. But if all came to all, I wouldn't mind. I would do whatever I'd have to do. But what I'm showing is the full moon in the daytime. Not the day before, day after. It's the full moon, and according to time and date, it is as illuminated as it can be. That's the thing. And we've just shown earlier, we've just shown how the full moon has to work, and we used what they say, how the full moon has to work within their paradigm. And we saw a video of it, and even ironically, I sent a link from time and date link to Quantum Eraser a small while ago on Skype, and it asking the question, it's them trying to answer, how can the full moon be seen during the day? And they have a diagram right below, right, which shows the exact thing Adam shows, which is the full moon for them only in the nighttime. So the point is that we don't have to make any claims about this. We don't have to say it proves anything. But what it does do is put a massive spanner in the work of the heliocentric moon phases, because it's not in alignment with that in any way, shape, or form. And as Kiwi said, it's a paradox. It's the opposite from what they claim. So anyone can take that away. They might have. The only thing about it that might be a bit of a drawback is people would have to actually look at how the moon phases are claimed to work on the globe. And most people would easily see with the diagrams they show that, hang on, this is not possible. And that's all that really matters. We're free of supporting claims here. We're free of anything like that. It is purely on them and what they come back with, which might unfortunately be ignoring it completely, like they tend to do.
Yeah.
But that's it. Thank you.
Final thoughts, Nathan, and take us home.
Well, my final thoughts are just a call to action again to the audience. Make sure you leave a comment. If nothing else, just let us know what you think about this, because obviously this is relatively new to everybody on the panel. Although it isn't, it's nothing new under the sun. Or in this instance, there's nothing new under the moon. But yes, please leave a comment and get the conversation started. Reply if you've not got the gumption to put a primary comment out there. But obviously, with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a massive thank you to Adam and Brian for putting the presentation together, and of course QE for hosting the show. But moreover, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the super chat, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and we will see you all in the next Ballbusters.